One and round up here on Blue Room. As you can all see, Dave Downey joins me today. Dave, I said before, you look like you're ready to go and have a game of golf today.
Yeah, sadly I can't.
You getting the
So,
itch for it, yeah?
well, that's the thing. Sadly I can't go and play golf. I bought a load of new clothing for the summer, and obviously I'm aching to get out and play. Obviously I can't get out and play, so the next best thing is just wear the clothes and feel like I'm about to go and play.
Yeah.
But it feels like a bit of a come down when I have to take it off and just like wear normal work attire and stuff like that. So it's quite sad, really. And we're only a few days into all of this, aren't we?
Yeah, well, the beard's coming along well, though, I can see. After our conversation on Subscribers Weekly, we actually had somebody tag us in a post on Twitter, didn't we, about how to grow a beard. And I think it's very much aimed in your direction.
Yeah, it definitely was. I mean, because you're used to all that, aren't you? You can grow a beard in half an hour if you want to, but I've not really ever done it. And I've sort of made a vow not to shave until we're out of the lockdown and everything's sort of going to be okay again. So it's clearly not working on top, but it's definitely working on the bottom. So yeah, I mean, I found it hard now. I have to sort of manage it. Do you know what I mean? It's like, you know what lads are like. You
Wash it in the shower.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it. And it goes fluffy and stuff like that. And the sideburns bit do me head in though, because when they stick out, I look like a bad scruff. But when like I go to work and stuff like that, I have to take care and attention that it's in the right place because it starts getting like mangled, you know, because it's going longer.
Yeah.
It's almost like you have to run a little comb through it and stuff like that. It's nothing I've ever been used to. So God knows what I look like when we come out of all this.
So you're committing to growing it until...
Yeah. In fact, you know what? I'll go as far as saying I'll commit to growing it until Everton play again.
Should raise some money for charity. I'm sure people will sponsor you.
Yeah. I think I might set something up like that and like donate it to the NHS or something like that.
Great, yeah, it's a fantastic idea. And just on that, I was going to mention that obviously we've both got partners who work in the health service as well. Did you get involved in that last night? Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, it was quite emotional actually. So like we live in a cul-de-sac, so obviously like the best views that I've seen so far from everybody's videos have been from like the high-rise flats and apartments and things like that, or you know where there's a complete terrace street out and all that. It's a little bit different for us because we only sort of like we're only in vision of about 5 or 6 different houses, but every single person, families, kids were getting involved. Someone round the back was setting off fireworks, so the dogs were going nuts. It felt like for like 10 or 15 minutes, it was a proper unifying experience, none of which we've ever seen before, I don't think. Sort of everybody, man, woman and child, thanking these incredible people, which, you know your missus on the front line of all this, Matt. You must have felt incredibly proud yourself as well.
Yeah, but sort of felt like the whole way. She was in work at the time, actually, yeah. So I had to lean out of our window and video it and send her a video of it, but...
That's the real shame, isn't it, really? Because when they can't see it, obviously they have to go to the media and stuff like that and social media. They couldn't have seen it live because they'll be attending to all of the people that need all that help. And, you know, you're incredibly grateful. I know, like, many people, particularly in our city, sort of working class people, always put the NHS at the forefront of their minds. And always, obviously, a lot of political discussions around the NHS and things like that, but it was great to see that sort of unity, particularly in our city, because we do support our NHS all the time. We're always, I think, a lot of people campaigning for better working conditions, better pay, and without going too political, I think there's a time and a place for that conversation, of course, but it just felt like we were all collectively behind them for once, instead of just sort of like ripping it to shreds for various different reasons. A lot of people are critical of the NHS for some reason. They don't seem to get the nuances of why sometimes things are difficult with them. So it was an incredible experience and something that I think will live for us. I mean, forever for us, because I keep on talking to people and trying to sort of say, have the perspective that this period of time we're living in right now is historic. They'll teach kids about this in years to come. And as sad as it is, you know, the way like you see old newspaper clippings from wartime and like various little things, like you remember ration books and stuff like that, you get shown in history as a kid. I'm sort of trying to think of like little mementos I can take from this time. So like, I'll screenshot a load of things, like a load of tweets and stuff like that, and think, wow, can you imagine showing your kids or your grandkids in years to come that this was what it was like? and almost sadly, that experience, and obviously technology is an absolute lifesaver. This being a prime example of it, when we're all on lockdown. But I almost think back in those times, it feels as if that sort of thing we experienced last night with the clap for carers would have been a regular feeling back in when it was wartime and things like that. That sort of collective unity.
Probably more of a community back in those times, I imagine.
Yeah, and that's what made last night so special, I think, because it's something that we rarely do as a society, as a community. Not so much looking outwardly and trying to help people. It's more, sadly, a selfish environment, I think, for most people in this day and age that's perpetuated by the way life is with technology and stuff like that. Back then, you can imagine the sort of the small little tokens of appreciation went a long way, more than they do now. I mean, we can survive on our own, thankfully. I can go to the shop, still, you can still do a decent daily routine. But, you look at times back then when there was real hardship, people relied on one another. Yeah. So last night was a small, I think, little smidgen of appreciation for sort of that generation as well. But I'd love to sort of like, I don't know, maybe put a diary together of all this. And obviously all of our videos will be diarised, won't they? Because you'll be able to get them forever. But like, I just wish I could, if there was like newspaper clippings and stuff like that. And I don't know if I'm being a bit sad, but I think that sort of thing this will go down in history, all of this.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing how much hairy you both are by the end we've done the first video up until the last video, because there'll be no haircuts or no shaves on your part in that regard. But no, it was great, and I don't see why this couldn't be a thing that people do every night. So I saw Phil Kitchamalides from the Spanish Football Podcast. He's been on our shows before talking about Spanish football, saying that we do this every night in Spain. It's something we do all the time, and like everything, I imagine it'll evolve. But people get more creative and find different ways of showing their appreciation to these people. And I think going back to what we were speaking about last week in regards to all this and how what could be the positives to this, I think people are pushed out the comfort zone. People think outside the box. People think creatively, and hopefully it does bring us all together in that regard as well. So why not do it every night? We've all got the time in our hands.
Yeah, I thought it was great. Like, I think a lot of older people were banging pots and pans together as well. It's little things like that, you say. People get creative in situations like this, don't they? I mean, I've seen a lot of kids who are off school getting artistic, putting posters in the windows to thank the NHS.
Rainbows, a lot of rainbows around.
Yeah, I mean, I can obviously can't speak for them, but like I say, your partner, when she's out and about or she's making her way to work, those little things where people are showing gratitude must go a long way, really.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, so fingers crossed we can keep that sense of unity going. It's going to get harder for a while yet, I think, but this sort of thing can keep us all our spirits high. Just a couple of Everton stories or semi-Everton stories today. The first one, Mason Holgate's done an interview with the Daily Mail speaking about his quarantine and that sort of stuff. And one of the funny lines from it, Dave, is effectively saying that he's just trying not to do his mum's head in at the moment with the way things are going. But it was interesting reading it, because I was sort of going through and looking at the words. I think footballers always come across well in these sorts of things because this is how they're written. They've got the media training, that sort of stuff. It's easy to sit here and say, Mason Holgate comes across well in that interview, but I think it's something that he started doing a lot more of recently. He started doing a lot more media obligations. He's obviously done stuff with the club around his contract. He's done this sort of interview. And I think he's just becoming a lot more comfortable in those sorts of environments. Whenever I've seen him on the television after he's played well or on the club channel, in the past he may have looked a little bit like a rabbit in the headlights, but I think one of the keys to his game, and away from him being a footballer and all that sort of thing, he just seems a lot more at ease with his surroundings at the moment, a lot more at ease with the media obligations, and that's probably only helped him in regards to what he's been doing on the pitch.
Well, it has, and he seems to be taking a real responsibility at the club now. I mean, a lot of people speak of him in captaincy terms in years to come, perhaps. I completely get that trail of thought. I think it's a controversial subject, the Everton captaincy. It always has been, hasn't it, really, whether we want somebody who's always in the referee's ear.
It feels like whenever we big someone up for the role, they end up being I remember when Morgan Schneiderlin came in, and within 3 months we were saying this lad's going to be the future captain of Everton. We said the same thing about Pickford. We said it about Coleman before he got it, and now he gets grief as well. It feels like it's becoming a bit of a poison chalice, isn't it? I suppose it's because it's been passed around so much, and we've gone through such turbulent times.
Well, yeah, I mean, and it is a sign of the times, isn't it, that you can't define one single leader over a consistent period of time for us. It just shows you how it's been passed from pillar to post, and that's been the situation within the team, hasn't it? Because we haven't exactly had a player, I can't think, or you perhaps can count on one hand, the amount of people in probably the last 5 years who've either deserved the armband or led by example. I mean, that was always the criticism of Phil Jagielka, wasn't it?
Yeah.
When he had the armband, it was like, okay, nothing wrong with his performances and his general conduct as a player. He represented the club in an exemplary fashion back then, but it was the fact that he wasn't vocal, he wasn't in the referee's ear, he wasn't screaming and shouting at players. A lot of people criticised him for that, and in hindsight, I mean, what would you give for a Phil Jagielka in the side now?
I'm just thinking exactly the same thing, yeah.
So, I mean, and Holgate, to me, as a person, I think somebody is probably a little bit more vocal than a Jagielka type of player. He seems to be calm when it's needed. He seems to do all the right things, I think, in game situations to befit that role of a captain in years to come. Obviously, alongside Mina and Keane, you've got two centre halves who can be, what's the word I'm looking for, really? They can blow hot and cold in many ways. Yerry Mina, I think, is a frustrating figure at times because we know how good he is and can be. But I look at him sometimes, I think, are they really expressing leadership qualities? He likes to have fun on the pitch, and I absolutely love that. We love his dancing when goals go in. He's done Spanish lessons this week on the club's channel. I don't know if you've seen that.
Yeah.
Absolutely superb. But you wonder, like, those qualities being as they are, I don't know how that transfixes itself into being a captain. And, you look at the other candidates around. Luca Dean's been captain. Again, quite a quiet lad, isn't he? He's not somebody who'll scream and shout. Sigurdsson's been given it. You've got massive issues there in terms of performance and going missing in games when we've seen some horrendous statistics from Matt Cheatham. You can't really call that captain material. So Holgate probably does stick out a little bit more than other people at the moment in terms of his leadership qualities, or certainly the green shoots of those leadership qualities coming to the fore. And everything you're seeing him doing right now, I saw him giving an interview on Sky Sports News the other day, talking about the community initiative that the club's just come out with the Blue Family stuff. He's been calling fans and vulnerable people.
He's been front and centre and all that, hasn't he? He seems to have been the face of it in the last few weeks.
Yeah, he doesn't shy away from that. And that is what you want from a club captain, somebody who leads by example, and in difficult times on and off the pitch, and in the absence of any football, what he's doing right now is the exact kind of thing you want to see from a club captain. So I'd absolutely be championing that, if probably sooner rather than later, to be honest with you, because he's just signed that contract and he looks perfectly happy at the club. He's somebody, I think, who we've watched grow out of his shell a little bit. Like some other young players, he's been knocked from pillar to post in the difficult times. Seemed to be a feature of Ronald Koeman's side, but then was omitted from that for some reason because he didn't really do anything long in a playing aspect. He went to West Brom, played somewhat out of position. We know he can play a full-back, but that's where they kept him there. And his journey to where he is now in an Everton shirt, and probably being our best defender, if we're honest, has been a difficult one. But like you, Matt, I know you've said this a few times about our younger players, particularly Dominic Calvert-Lewin. It feels as if those difficult times they've been through, and let's face it, each of them will have their own story of being in the doldrums whilst at Everton, brings them out in a better way on the other side of it. They're able to refer to that experience, and the fact that they've come through it stronger will give each of them a lot of confidence. And I think Mason Holgate will see a lot of that in him in years to come.
Yeah, and I think that looking back to that game against Chelsea, which obviously was our last game, and it does feel so long ago now, that was just a little reminder for me as well of all the stuff he's still got to learn. Yeah. I remember putting on Twitter before the game started that it'd be a big test for Holgate, to someone like Giroud, who's the sort of defender he struggled against. And let's be honest, he bullied him a little bit, didn't he, in that game as well. So still a lot for him to learn as a player, but I think his attitude and the way he's going about it is certainly going to help him in that sense. We were speaking about Jordan Pickford on the Subs Weekly the other day, and his ego in the way he doesn't really feel as though he he takes on criticism or is willing to learn new things. You get the sense that Holgate's not that sort of figure. You get the sense he's happy to go and work on his game.
Yeah.
He's happy to take advice on board and happy to accept that there are faults he's got to work on. So great to see him maturing and blossoming.
And also, Matt, I think it's worth pointing out, he's his own man as well. I mean, you think about Merseyside derbies at Anfield in particular. Obviously, everyone has a laugh at when he shoved Firmino into the front row. But you look at the stance he's taken, he seems to be somebody who relishes that battle. He seems to be somebody who wants to puff the chest out in those difficult games. And that will only benefit us. And in the absence of anybody who's done that too often in big games like that, I think he's somebody who'll really come to the fore in those games and show those leadership qualities we're talking about. That Chelsea game typified him in many ways to me, because I think all of us are guilty at times of getting carried away with a good performance from players, or maybe a run of good performances. Yeah. And we sort of jump the gun and say, well, this player's finally arrived, he's going to be top class for us, and then they will throw one in. And that to me was a Holgate's game. By no means that I have him down as the worst player on the day against Chelsea, but those type of strikers you're talking about there in the Giroud model, they're the ones that he has to work on. The physicality is an issue. He's not a big guy. He's a quick guy. So, either it's his physical strength that he has to work on, his positioning, or indeed the person alongside him having a better line of communication and basically saying, well, Yerry Mina is better suited to man marking Olivier Giroud and not me. And I'm not going to get done on the back post because he'll be marking him instead of me. That they're the sort of, again, nuances I think defenders need to work on. And you can see why defenders tend to really flourish, I think, a little bit later than other players. When you get to maybe beyond the age of 25, 26, that's when you see them really come to the fore, because they've got that experience of how to position themselves properly and all the things that you can't necessarily learn whilst you're making your way in the game. And again, he's not had a linear transition to the first team here, has he? He hasn't been like, for instance, a John Stones. When John Stones came, it all looked very simple for him. The transition was he come in as a young starlet, he started getting blooded a little bit, and then he was thrust straight into the action, and that's when we saw the best of him. Holgate's been his line is the sort of the trajectory of him at the football club has been very up and down, and he will come through that for the better. I'm certain of it, because Stones is an interesting case in himself, isn't it? Because we're seeing now that those frailties perhaps are coming to the fore. He's struggling at Manchester City. People are saying he's going to leave City, can't get in the England team. All of those things now are the struggles John Stones is having to deal with that he's never known before. Whereas someone like Holgate's witnessed all that. He's had all that. Exactly. So he's able to count on that experience, whereas perhaps somebody like John Stones, who, is probably a little bit further down the line in terms of career prospects, and certainly the club he's playing at as well. But he has those troubles to come at an age where he should be kicking on. So hopefully that sees Mason come out of it in a much stronger position than somebody like a John Stones.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll sort of wrap it up there, Dave. We've had a good nearly 20 minutes or so chat, all sorts there. Just for anybody who's been watching these videos regularly, fourth one today, Germany kit. You a fan, Dave?
I do like that kit in particular, mate. I'm a fan of the darker colours. And the big badge in the middle is just a peach of a badge, isn't it? They're the type of, they're collector's items then, mate. I wouldn't wash that too much.
Oh no, it's 2016 this one's from. So it's the Euros after they won the World Cup in 2014. Yeah. So it's reversible as well. It's got like a mad training top on the other side. So.
Has it? I've never seen it. I don't even think I've seen the other side of it.
No, it's like a bit meshy and netty. I think it's like for if you're playing five. I imagine when they were playing five-a-side with it or something like that, you'd be able to turn it around, or the training tops before the game. So
reversible kits have never gone down well in history, have they? Do you remember the England one?
No, it wasn't great, was it? United had one, didn't they, as well?
Oh, that was horrible, that. It was like almost a washed-out gold colour, wasn't it? The reverse to a white one. Yeah. I think it was. That England one was dreadful because it was basically, it had the red trim, didn't it, round here?
Yeah.
And then it was the blue trim. But it always felt like it was really thick and heavy because obviously they're trying to make two tops into one. But you can get away with that now, Matt. You shouldn't have even said this, should you? Because you could have wore the reverse tomorrow and said, look, I've got another top here.
There we go. But it's got no Germany badges on, so I don't know if people get on. No, not on the other side, no. So
it's just like a bog standard Adidas top.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So it's like sort of. It's a bit rubbish reversible, really. But no,
prices of kits these days. By the way, I've got a friend at the BBC who collects like rare kits and like obscure ones and ones that look silly. The teams have had like around the world, and the prices of them are absolutely ridiculous these days. I mean, even if you try and go and get the FA Cup top at Everton more than 95, that costs you a pretty penny these days. It's amazing, isn't it, how things like that increase in value.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but I just thought like I've got so many in my drawer. I'll dig them all. I'll dig out one a day and put a different one on for each of these videos. So
how many days you reckon you can go?
I've probably got about 25 in the drawer.
You need to think methodically about this, you know.
Yeah, I know. I'll have to just like recycle them all, but I'll do as many as I can.
We should offer a prize to the first person that spots that you've wore the one top the second time.
Yeah, give away the top.
Yeah.
but my missus always saying, you know, you've got all these footy shirts you never wear. Now I can say I'm wearing them. I'm wearing them on YouTube. So. There you go. Dave's been great. You going to come on more of these, yeah?
Yeah, I think you need some company, don't you? You look a little bit lonely when you're doing these on your own. So, yeah, I'm happy to do some more Blue Room breakfasts. So, yeah.
Wonderful stuff, yeah. We're going to think of a better name and a better angle for it.
And do it live as well as soon as we can figure out how.
We'll get that sorted over the weekend as well. But just in regards to what we've had on the Blue Room this week, like I've said all week, we've had seasons, we've had 11s, we've had subs weekly. Kickabout last night with Kate, Rob and Les, which was really good as well. I'm on mailbag later with Matt Flusk, Keith Tomlin, who's always a fantastic laugh, and Les as well. And then over the weekend, we'll have more of these sorts of videos and all that kind of thing. Dave, it's been a pleasure. Stay well, stay safe. Everybody out there, like I always say on these, stay connected with us. If you've got any questions for us, anything you want us to talk about, get in touch. I'm at MattJFootball on Twitter. You're at David Downey17.
That's the one, mate, yeah.
That's the one.
DM's always open.
Yeah. Speak to us, reach out to us, and we'll speak to you again very soon.